Hello, I want to tell you about a mosque battle which I've won recently in Bedford. I want to tell you a little bit about the application itself, remind you what it was for and why I think we won, and also celebrate 10 years of my doing this. Okay, let's start with the application. If I go to the application itself, if I do this, then there you can see the application. Proposed change of use to a place of worship and community centre at 125 to 127 Midland Road in Bedford. And that was refused permission on the 25th of October. The application itself was to turn this building here, if I show you this on Google Earth, to turn it into a mosque. They always say community centre. Bingo. This one's another community centre. No, it's a mosque. That's what they wanted to do. So that if you see that that building there, that one right on that roundabout, that was the Athena Palace Greek restaurant. They wanted to turn it into a mosque with no parking, with 5 roads, 5 exits coming off that busy roundabout along that road, Midland Road, and going along there. That's an arterial route. Okay, let me do this, and you can get a look at the location. So zooming in, there's the roundabout. We're right on the roundabout. That is the Athena Palace there. That building that was going to be turned into a mosque, and that got refused planning permission. Now I want to go back to the refusal notice. So here's the application again, and further information. If I click on that tab, the lady who decided it was Rachel Duncan. She's the planning officer, the case officer. She did a reasonably good job, a little bit milk and water, but it was enough. The basic message is that this refusal was strong enough to mean their plans for this place are over. They're not going to get it in future. I don't think they'll get it if they go to appeal. But it could have been tougher, could have been stronger. But this is a tendency that I noticed with applications. When I started doing this 10 years ago, what local authorities would do is just wave through mosque applications. Muslims want a new mosque. We don't want to get into trouble. You can't get fired granting them planning permission. You can only get fired if they start complaining about you. So let's just wave through these applications. That meant, ironically, it was a lot easier to oppose them 10 years ago because they weren't prepared for any opposition. They just assumed, well, it's a mosque application, let's just grant it planning permission on the quiet. And then someone like me comes along, they can't do it on the quiet anymore, and they're dealing with serious opposition. They didn't know how to handle it, and that was obvious at the time. Now what they're having to do is to justify their decisions and to look at reality. And there are signs in this refusal that is what they have done. This lady, this planning officer has had to look at reality. Not as much as I'd like her to have done, but she's done it, and that means this is a solid refusal. So I'm glad about that. So if you go, just to show you, if you click on documents, you then come on to documents, and they are, hold on, if I go down there, click on that, you get a list of documents. It should come up. Well, they've got a slow server, they are. And then you get the list of documents, and you can click on the decision notice and report. I've already downloaded it. There's one I prepared earlier, so I'll go to that now. Hold on. So here is the refusal notice, Bedford Borough Council, and they say the refusal reasons are attached over leaf. That means below. Okay, now these are the refusal reasons. There are 4 of them. I'll deal with the first one. The first one I think is the most important one. That's the one they're not going to be able to get over. The other ones seem to be, they're all about, well, you haven't given us sufficient information, come back again with new documents and a new report. That's what councils say when they don't really want to grant it, but they don't really want to refuse it either. So they say, well, you just haven't given us enough documents, prepare some more documents, apply again, and maybe you'll get it that time. And that's how mosques sometimes get applications through via persistence, via pester power. But I don't think they're going to be able to do so in this case because of refusal reason 1. Let me go through this. The proposed use will result in the loss of an essential local shop as defined by the local plan without sufficient justification. In addition, an additional place of worship in this part of Midland Road will lead to concentration of similar uses whose cumulative impact would be to the detriment of neighbour amenity through additional noise and disturbance and on-street parking contrary to policies, etc., of the Bedford local plan. So what they're basically saying is there's a lot of other churches, a lot of other mosques in this area, and all of this is going to lead to parking situation, disturbance for neighbours. So we're not just saying you haven't supplied us with enough information there. This is that planning officer, Rachel, saying you cannot justify this conversion to a mosque here. And so even if they go away and reapply, I don't think they're going to be able to overcome that one. So that is the sticking point. That is the one which means they've got to pack their bags and go home, go back to the drawing board. What she also did, which I think is significant, if I just want to go through this, if I go down a little bit, hold on, then hold on, down a bit. She refers to previous experience at this mosque. They have another site, an existing site elsewhere. And previously what they would say, if you said, look, this organisation, they're creating havoc in a different part of the neighbourhood, previously local authorities would tend to say, that's not our business. They've provided us with a report saying there'll be no parking problems. We're just going to go by that whitewash report. Local authorities can't do that. They're not doing that anymore. They're having to think harder. They're getting more confident, more able about thinking up reasons to grant planning permission, but they're having to think harder. But it also means they're having to address reality, and that's what this lady did here. From local experience of the Brereton Road site, that's this mosque outfit's existing site, not the one they're applying for here. On Friday afternoon, the whole street is filled with people leaving the premises either on foot or by car. This causes congestion and disturbance within the area. However, as it is on a side street, the overall impact is reduced through numerous side street routes to get to alternative locations. The new premises would introduce up to 200 people on a busy thoroughfare where there are no barriers separating the footpath from the road. So basically she is looking at reality and saying, no, it won't work here. And so I applaud her for that. Rachel, I don't think you've done a brilliant job, but I think you've done a good enough job. Okay, so you get half a star from me. All right, so the next refusal reason I want to go through here. The nature of the development, let's see if I can zoom in a bit here. No, I can't. The nature of the development is such that a detailed air quality assessment is required to determine the impact on public health and the local environment. Basically, she's saying you've got to provide us with a report. That's normally a way for a local authority to say, come back again with another application and spend a bit more on your documents this time. And so I don't really like that. That's not really a very good grounds for refusal. That one isn't very decisive. The third reason for refusal, insufficient information. That's a catch-all phrase. Insufficient information has been provided by the applicant to enable an accurate assessment to be made of the highway safety traffic impact and parking implications of the development. So she's not saying she's not saying here there'd be terrible impacts from parking. She said, you haven't shown us that there won't be. Go away and provide us with a report saying there won't be. Again, not very strong stuff. And fourthly, the proposed development does not comply with the Bedford Borough Council's guidance, parking standards for sustainable communities, design and good practice, etc., in respect of secure cycle parking provision. Now, again, that's a weak reason for refusal. She even goes so far later to say no cycle spaces could be provided. An internal cycle parking room could be provided on the ground floor layout if the ground floor layout were changed and ramped access included from the footway. So she's going so far as to try and find them a solution there. So this is not as strong a refusal as I would like, but ground number one basically saying it's going to create havoc for neighbours, it's going to create havoc as regards comings and goings and parking. That's going to harm local amenity. That is one that they can't get over. So I'm happy with that side. And she was right to say that. That point is absolutely accurate. Let me show you the Google Earth view again. Okay, see that? Just look at that side. Imagine that roundabout. I'll see if I can do a 360 degree turn, do a twirl. Imagine that roundabout, and you've got well, what the report says is 200 people arriving on site. I think it would have been more than that. But imagine all those people coming by car, coming on foot, spilling out onto that roundabout. That would have become one choke point in the area with a lot of noise, a lot of disturbance, cars backing up all along those roads onto that roundabout. So that was rightly refused. Now, you might say, well, that's not a very good ground to refuse it. You're just refusing it on parking grounds. No, you win these. The question is whether you want to win or whether you want to let off steam about how bad mosques are. If you want to win, you do it through the coded planning language of the planning system. And that means parking, local amenity, congestion, architecture, air quality, things like that, and that is how you win. And we have won this one by talking about those issues, not by going on about race and religion, even though it might be that might be more to the point sometimes, but that is not the point here. Okay, so we've won that. Now that marks 10 years of me, hold on if I get rid of that, me opposing mosque applications. Well, in fact, it's more than 10 years, about 11 years, but it's 10 years since I stood up in local planning offices trying to get mosque applications refused. The first one was in Maidenhead in August of 2011. I think I'll upload that again so you can see that. And I'm pleased to see that my tune hasn't changed. I'm saying pretty much exactly the same things now as I was then. It's getting tougher to win them because local authorities are getting a bit more confident, a bit more canny, a bit more tougher about pushing through mosque applications. But we are winning. And in that time, if you go to the website, it shows that I fought 72. This one makes 73. There's another victory, which I think I should be able to go on about, which bumps it up to about 73 or 74. You'll see on the site. But soon it'll be 100. Then I shall be boasting and bragging like a rooster on top of a dunghill. Thank you very much.